Hey, you're welcome to this week's edition of The Magnet. You know, we call it mentoring on television. You also call it lending a voice to business growth. Do you have a business? Have you written a plan? Is it guiding your process? How successful is your business following your business plan? We're reaching you from the office of Timeline Consult, and we have with us the managing partner, managing consultant, the regular face in the Nigerian media. Let's give you the citation in this profile, and we're back to commence an interactive session.
Shuaib Idris is a graduate of accounting, second-class upper from Bayero University, Kano, Nigeria. He also holds an MA degree in banking and finance from University of Wales, Bangor, UK. He is a member of many professional institutions such as Fellow, Institute of Credit Administrators, Fellow, Institute of Directors, Nigeria, Member, Institute of Management, to mention but a few. He was appointed to the position of Deputy Managing Director of Dangote Flour Mills PLC in November 2009. Prior to this appointment, Shuaib Idris held the positions of Executive Director in charge of Sales and Marketing, Flour, and Acting Managing Director and CEO, Dangote Flour Mills PLC. He was at one time Group General Manager, Admin and HR, Corporate Affairs, Properties and Environment, Group Treasurer and Special Assistant to the Group Vice President. Before joining the Dangote Group, he was the Group Head, Public Sector of Liberty Bank PLC, Managing Consultant, CEO, Timeline Consult Limited, Deputy General Manager, Lakeside Investments Limited, and Head Capital Markets and Advisory Division of Continental Merchant Bank, Nigeria Limited. Shuaib Idris has attended numerous courses both within and outside Nigeria, including Lagos Business School, AMP, Harvard Business School, AMP, Galilee College, Israel, SME, Loughborough University, Islamic Banking Program, UK, DC Gardner, UK, Manchester Business School, Senior Bankers Course, UK, and a member and ISOM, UK, Leasing Course. He is also a member of National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, just to mention but a few. He serves on the board of a number of companies such as Capital Trust and Investments Limited, Temple and Agidance Limited, and Value Fonterra Limited. He also serves on the board of trustees of some NGOs such as COPE, a breast cancer NGO. He is currently the managing director of Timeline Consult Limited. Shuaib Idris' hobbies include swimming, football, tennis, and political debates. He is a regular commentator on economic and current affairs issues in BBC, VOA, and Nigerian electronic and print media. He is married with children.
You're welcome back. It's my great pleasure to be hosted in the office of Timeline Consult and the managing consultant of the company. Great pleasure to welcome Alhaji Idris Shuaib of Timeline Consult. You are welcome to the Magnet, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, business plan. You've consulted for a lot of companies. You have mentored a lot of young entrepreneurs. What is that? Should we understand by business plan?
Business plan. Let's start by an adage, an axiom English people coined to say, failure to plan is planning to fail. Whatever one is planning to do, whatever one is thinking of doing, it is important that you develop a bit of a sketch, a plan, a development, a vision that you may want to see that you follow. Sometimes the plan can entail a step-by-step, approach to what you intend to do. Maybe step 1, step 2, up to the last step. Or maybe it is, an opportunity to look at a whole gamut of a structure or a system. In business, when entrepreneurs begin to conceptualize ideas of doing a product or a service, that is manufacturing or rendering a service, entrepreneurs have a look at a number of issues that are going to be required or items that are required. Business plan in its basic and primary definition is it is a document that entails the ideas of an entrepreneur as to what the entrepreneur intends to produce or deliver as a service. It can be transportation, airline, train, road. It can be manufacturing of foodstuff, call it grains, farming, for example. It can be processing, maybe flour milling, that you take wheat to process into bread flour or semolina. Several gamut of examples can be given in terms of businesses that entrepreneurs do engage in.
Thank you very much for that insight. Now, is it only to secure investors or to secure loans from maybe a loan facility from the bank or investment company that would require a business plan?
In general, entrepreneurs develop business plans for a number of reasons. Number one is the plan will naturally be used as a compass in terms of knowing what to do, when to do, how to do, who to do. Any time, any day, anywhere, if one does not have a plan, a proper plan, it may be one will just be walking in the dark. So business plan is not necessarily for securing credit or getting an investor or investors. No, entrepreneurs use the plan to also know what exactly they are expected to do and when are they supposed to do, who is supposed to do, and even what is required in doing that they want to do. And also very, very important and congent is business plan tend to have a futuristic view. It gives you a forecast on what to expect. Yes, we have an adage, no one knows the future except God, but you can hazard a guess. You can do an estimate. You can guess, what the future might entail, and then you begin to organize how best to come to terms with the future as and when it eventually arrives.
Interesting. That means it can be your guide even when you go along, when you are executing the project or as you are running the business.
Exactly.
Now, what is the importance of executive summary? That should be part of business plan, right?
Well, yeah. A typical business plan contains a number of chapters. Because it is generally lengthy, depending upon the nature of the business being planned. Executives, senior management staff, bankers, investors are having short of time. God has been so kind. One of the things he gives us is 24 hours a day. Whether the president of America or a common man like myself, we all have 24 hours. So you have to look at it from an ambience that certain people require 80 hours in a day, 100 hours in a day, but they don't have and they will never get. So in order to make sure that those you want them to take a closer look at your plan, get the meat of the plan within maybe a maximum period of 3 to 5 minutes, at most 10 minutes. You then condense a business plan that is minimum of 50 pages, maximum of 250 pages. You condense it into 1.5 page. That is what is called an executive summary, and it gives a reader to just look at that condensed summary, and the reader will get to have a full idea of the document. In quite a number of books, you get what is called prefix to cover. That prefix is like an executive summary. So executive summary in business plan is akin to prefix in a typical book.
Okay, interesting. Now, part of the business plan is for you to describe your company. When you are describing your company, what are those salient things you must, focus on when you are describing your company to somebody, whether it would be investor?
You can describe a business no matter how much you paint a business, one investor or a lending banker will get to understand the process and the whole gamut of the business. However, one key essential ingredient of the success of any business is the person or the persons behind that business. So when discussing business plan, one of the key things that one must look at is who are the people behind the business, who are going to be the shareholders, who are going to be the directors, and who are likely going to be the management staff. Without a knowledge of particularly the shareholders and the directors, investors who might want to stake in money or invest in the business, customers who may want to buy the product or service will begin to have a question mark. But when you have a detailed explanation of the pedigree of the shareholders as well as the directors, people and customers, other stakeholders will begin to have a bit of trust and confidence in the company and in the products that one produce. I give you one or two examples. Apple product, for example. The moment you have the mark of Apple, tendencies are people believe this is quality or this is that. Back home, if you take Dangote, for example, the moment somebody buys a Dangote cement, one gets to have a feel that, oh, I'm buying quality and I'm going to get value for my money. Therein lies the wisdom of that particular chapter that details who are the personalities behind a business.
This is still the magnet. You are lending a voice to the growth of your business. And then, of course, you're being mentored. Remember that you can watch this particular episode and other episodes on my YouTube channel, Ames Media Company. Let's go for a breather. Let's go for a short break. We'll be back to continue a conversation with Alhaji Shuaibu Idris, MNI, the managing consultant of Timeline Consults. We'll be back shortly. You're welcome back. This is the Magnets. I'm sure you have been mentored on this program. We still have with us Alhaji Idris Shuaibu, the managing consultant of Timeline Consults. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. Now we are at the critical point of setting up a business, and what we hear often is that you must know your products and services to be able to sell it to other people. Is it compulsory to have full knowledge of whatever you want to go into? Can't you just hire somebody to be in charge and just sit back and...
it is important that if I want to deliver a product or a service, I should be able to know what I intend to deliver, at the end of the process. If I don't know, how do I market? How do I sell? So it is necessary you know what you are aiming to achieve. You, of course, will be requiring additional hands to help you in delivering what you set out to achieve. But it is imperative, it is important, it is cogent that somebody should be able to talk about the products that he or she manufactures or sells. Because without you talking about what you have, how will people then believe in you? How will people get to know what you are producing or what you are selling? I think it is very important that somebody should know. The entrepreneur and entrepreneur should know exactly what he or she is producing.
Thank you very much. What does market analysis have to do with this?
Well, like I did say, a typical business plan has a number of components. A typical content of a business plan, in addition to what we discussed, issues about the shareholders, the directors, you have chapters on production process, the location, the marketing issues, the sales issues, the human resource issues, and you have a forecast on financial analysis. Now, when you produce an item or you are rendering service, if you don't popularize it, if you don't, have a bit of publicity on what you are producing, how will people get to know about the existence of that product? So marketing, by its nature and by its form, it involves, the development of a cogent plan of action to introduce to populace, to potential consumers and customers, a product or a service with a view to enticing, the potential customers to, take interest in that product or service, and then possibly, effect a purchase. So there is, of course, a distinction between sales and marketing. Normally, marketing comes first. You get to popularize a product or a service, and then when people see it, either from trial to purchase or word of mouth, or based on the advertisement that you do in print or electronic media or in flyers, then you get people to patronize and to buy the item.
Beyond marketing, what is anybody's business in telling them the operation plans of the kind of business I want to set up? I mean, why should that bother anybody?
Basically, you see, when stakeholders understand the process, a particular product goes through prior to eventually coming out, tendencies are people will have increased trust and confidence in the product. If you take, for example, the bottled water, I don't want to mention any name for obvious reasons. You will realize that one of them says we are producing from spring, from a natural spring, and it passes through so many rocks, and the filtration process is XYZ. That gives the buyer additional comfort, additional confidence to make sure that this is what I am taking. If you take bread flour, for example, whenever flour millers are producing, they will tell you, oh, this is a flour that is coming from hard red winter wheat, because that is quote and unquote the El Dorado of wheat. So therein lies the desire by most customers to know exactly what are the operational steps that it involves, say, in producing a bottle of soft drink.
Now, I'm told that it's important for us to also articulate the management and the organizational structure of the company to be included in the business plan.
A typical business plan has certain components. And one of the components is organogram of the organization, otherwise called organizational chart. The idea is when you have a system will naturally involve other subsystems, subset of the main system. And each of these subsets will be working hand in hand to ensure a harmonious working relationship that will eventually lead to achievement of the vision or goal of the organization. An organization chart will clearly spell out who is responsible for what, how many people do I require, and who is reporting to what, who is in charge of this or that. Without proper organization chart, chances are people will just be going like goat or sheep or cows without so much of a head. Even in cows, you will realize when they are moving, one of the cows will be in front and the rest are following. So it is important that we realize the significant position of organization chart as it relates to division of labor, responsibility sharing, authority, matrix, and so many other administration and management, characteristics that is required of a typical organization.
Thank you so much. We are being mentored. Do you own a business? Are you taking tips from what we are conversing so far? Or do you plan to own a business or another? Now, thank you, sir, for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
I also learned that you must have to indicate financial projections. Why should I bother anybody with the kind of profits or money I want to make when I'm setting up my business? That is even, is that not a way of projecting? You don't even know what will happen eventually.
Projections, as we call them, they are just forecasts in the future. And if you are starting a business, let's say you want to produce akara. If you don't know where to source beans, for example, or you don't know where to grind the beans, or you don't know where to source the oil, or you don't know the cost of a bag of beans or a tin of vegetable oil or firewood or even cooking gas that you may need in producing the akara, how do you commence the business? If, for example, I want to engage in the production of akara, and I wake up one fine morning to say this is what I want to do, and I am having, say, 10,000 naira in my pocket, and I commence the process of producing akara, and I bought, say, beans for 9,000 naira, and I get stuck because I will need money to buy firewood, I will need money to buy the vegetable oil and other cooking implements. You will realize that I have set out on a journey because I didn't forecast my financial needs adequately and appropriately. I will do what? I will fail. So that is the raison d'etre. That is the reason, that is the rationale why it is important to have financial forecast. Every entrepreneur sets out to do business for the purpose of not just rendering services or producing goods. No,
profits.
but it is first to preserve the capital that you have invested, to make sure that you are not losing your capital. Then secondly, to make profit. So if from day one you do your numbers and the numbers are not showing that your capital will be preserved or you are not likely going to make profit, then it gives you an opportunity to make amend, to do some adjustment, to do some changes, and probably to look at areas where you can reduce costs so that the business can survive.
It's an epistle already. Thank you so much. But usually we round off with a counsel on this program. Somebody wants to start a business now, wants to be an entrepreneur. I mean, just help summarize for us with a counsel.
They must begin to think of what can I do with my time. It is not fair to just sit down and be waiting for a white-collar job that may never come. You're not getting younger and time is tickling. For those of us that are employed, it is important also to take a critical look at your life and say, Mrs. Y, Miss X, Mr. Z worked for 30 or 35 years, he or she has retired. What is he doing? So you need to plan life after work. Never ever have a self-limitation by thinking that finance is your limitation. Finance cannot, should not, and should never be a limitation to any business.
Thank you very much. You've hit the nail on the head. Thanks for the counsel. Thanks for lending a voice. It's been The Magnet, and we've been chatting with Alhaji Idris Shuaibu, the managing consultant of Timeline Consult. He's also an MNI. Thank you so much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Remember that you can watch this episode and past episode of this program on our YouTube channel, Ames Media Company. You enjoyed what you watched today. Remember that we keep bringing them to you, all the professionals from diverse professions and diverse fields, where you can learn from, and then you lend the voice to the growth of your business. Join us same time next week, and we shall bring you another episode. Until then, bye for now.